get to all the Easter eggs, we would like to give out a huge spoiler alert to those who haven't seen the show. Now, let's get started. The biggest twist in Squid Game was that 001, whose real name was Oh Nam, was the organizer of the game all along. Well, the truth of him being an organizer was in our faces the whole time. First off, in the casting, you could see Oh Nam was the old man's character's name, and if you had translated the name, you would have seen the writer was trying to pull a Star Wars trick on us, because Oh Nam roughly translates to the first man. The fact that his name is the first man, and his number is literally 001, showed he wasn't just like any other candidate. The same way Star Wars' Darth Vader literally means Dark Father, which foreshadows he is actually Luke's father. Another time where the writer wanted to show us that 001 was behind it all was during the red light, green light game. While the rest of the contestants were being shot down the minute they moved, if you paid good attention, you will notice that 001 had rigged the game from the beginning. Firstly, most old men would have wet themselves before going into immediate cardiac arrest after witnessing over 50 people being shot to death, but 001 seemed to not be shocked at all. To our surprise, he continued playing with a huge smile on his face, which sounds a bit suspicious. However, most of the audience would have been deceived because earlier in the episode, he said he had dementia and a brain tumor. As the show progresses, a huge hint is thrown at the audience. The robot that scans whom to shoot has been programmed not to shoot Nam. As you can see, everyone is highlighted, but 001 and the lady beside him are not, so that the robot doesn't shoot 001 or anyone close to him. Most of us didn't see it because we were too busy having empathy for those people being killed over a children's game. If you also paid attention, you would notice that 001 is the only one that knows when exactly to stop and start. This is because he has seen this game played many times. The next hint that showed Nam was behind it all was shown by the guard. When the players demanded that they should vote if the game should be continued or not, the guard says something that didn't sound suspicious at first, but when you think about it again, it starts to become obvious. The contestants were down from 456 to 201, and they needed to vote, but the guards insisted that the votes would be done in descending order of the contestants' numbers. Now, that doesn't look suspicious at first glance, but when you consider that there was no reason to do it in that order logically, it was not like the players died according to their numbers, and the guards never actually cared about the players' numbers. They never even feed them according to their numbers. So why the sudden respect for the numbers? Well, the truth lies in basic math. There were 201 contestants voting, and if they did it in descending order, in case there was a tie, 001 would be the tiebreaker. Therefore, he would choose if the game continues or not because he is the organizer and has the final say. That's exactly what happened, and he decided to end the game so that his conscience would be free, knowing that everyone who's going to lose their life playing the game is going to do it on their own accord. When the players were all returning to play the game, you will notice that all the players were gassed apart from 001, because why gas him when he already knows the location? 001 also showed he knew everything that was needed to know about the games, like when he rejected Gi-hun's offer of swapping shapes in the honeycomb game. Obviously, Nam knew that while the star may not be the easiest shape to cut out of the honeycomb, he knows damn well that it's a lot quicker and easier than trying to cut out an umbrella. He knew better than to swap with Gi-hun. Also, Nam knew the exact way to win the tug of war. He even knew how to escape the marble game. While every other player was scrambling to partner up, Nam just sat in a corner, even offering Gi-hun his jacket to help him look tougher to a potential partner without bothering to look for one himself. It was quite obvious that Nam knew that he wouldn't die if he didn't end up in a pair. The biggest hint that Nam was the leader all along was shown in episode 5, when undercover detective Hwang Jun-ho discovers the file of players for the 2020 games in episode 5. He opens the folder and finds that the first page is for player 002. Player 001's details are missing because he never registered as an official player, as he was the organizer all along. In episode 7, the organizer was shown, but his face wasn't shown because he was wearing a gilded animal mask. If you paid attention, his hands were old, just like the hands of Nam. It was also shown how every player that died in Squid Game was killed, but not Nam during the marble games. While the other players who lost during the marbles round are shot on screen, the gunshot that supposedly kills Nam is fired in the background. There's no proof that he died, as his body isn't shown in the following episode either, unlike Abdul Ali's and the others' bloodied remains. It's quite obvious Nam allowed Gi-hun to win the marble game because if he had proceeded to the next game, which was the glass floor, there would be no way the guards could have saved him from being pushed by another contestant or falling to his death. Enough of Nam. Let's talk about the crazy foreshadowing in the show. Squid Game was so fantastically written that every main character's death was foreshadowed before they die. Ali steals, or should I say collected, because technically he takes what he's rightfully owed from his boss, and is later betrayed by Sang-woo, who steals his marbles. Deok-soo jumps off a bridge to avoid being killed by gang members and later dies after falling off the glass bridge. Se-byuk threatens to slash a man's throat and is later killed by Sang-woo, who, you guessed it, slashes her throat. Sang-woo tries to commit suicide and later kills himself in order for Gi-hun to win the game and the money. Gi-hun didn't die, but technically, he foreshadowed his mom's death by swearing on his mom's life that he will not ask for the money, but he later does, and his mom dies. Minyo even foreshadows her own death in a subtle way. In episode 5, Minyo describes how powerful she felt when the team all leaned back in order to win the tug-of-war game. In episode 7, when she finally makes good on her promise to Deok-soo that she'd kill him if he ever betrayed her, she grabs him and falls backwards, dragging him to his death with her in a final act of sacrifice. Also, there's a PlayStation reference in Squid Games. Since the men are the controllers of the game, in the sense that they are the tools used by the main frontman to execute his commands, the shapes on their masks are identical to the buttons on a PlayStation controller. You're probably wondering, where's the X button? Well, technically, the X button did show up, and it was used for the voting. Another crazy Easter egg was in the frontman's identity. Everyone was wondering who was the man behind the anonymous-looking mask, but did you know the name of the actor who was the frontman was mentioned in the show in episode 6? When Se-byuk and Ji-young are sharing their stories, Se-byuk tells her friend that she wants to visit Jeju Island. Ji-young then suggests that she visit somewhere like Hawaii or the Maldives instead and have a mojito. Ji-young then references a famous line in the South Korean film Inside Men, starring Lee Byung-hun. Lee later makes a cameo appearance in Squid Game as the front man. The main character, Gi-hun, had the number 456, but what no one noticed was the number 456 followed Gi-hun before he even joined the game. If you don't speak Korean, you'll have to put the English subtitles on for this one. In episode 1, Gi-hun bets on the horses and wins. His winnings? 4.56 million won. Speaking of numbers, the pervert elite guest who couldn't keep his hands to himself and got knocked out by the detective was foreshadowed to be a pervert since he made a bet on number 69 because, you know the rest. Another piece of foreshadowing, as shown by Gi-hun, was the gift box Gi-hun gave his daughter. It was wrapped the same as the game coffins. On top of that, the gift inside was a gun, which had fire, which foreshadowed the tools the men in red will use to interact with the failed contestants, which was a gun to shoot at them, and fire that was used to cremate them. Every contestant and even the viewers were all wondering what the next game would be, to the point that contestants risked their life to find out, like Se-byuk, who crawled up the vents, and the doctor who ended up dying for helping harvest organs with the guards to find out what the next game was. However, if you or the contestants had paid attention from the beginning, you would notice that the games are drawn on the wall in the exact manner they were played, but the bunks were just blocking the drawings. As the bunks were cleared, the drawings became more visible, and even during the red light green light game, the robot had the Squid Game drawing on her head, foreshadowing the fact that Squid Game was going to be played in the same place the red light green light game was played. One of the most interesting references or theories is the fact that Il-nam and Gi-hun might be father and son. The first detail that makes the possibility of them being father and son is the two characters' numbers on their tracksuits. If the old man, Il-nam, gets the number 001 for being the organizer all along, Gi-hun has the last number, 456, which means for sure the two numbers are most likely connected. In episode 3, there's a scene where the players are given bread and milk. However, Gi-hun has to ask again if there's chocolate milk because he is intolerant to regular milk. Old man Il-nam hears this, and he tells Gi-hun that he must have been beaten by his father a lot when he was a child because he used to do the same to his son. Now, is it just by chance that Gi-hun has the same allergies as Il-nam's son? On top of that, Gi-hun and Il-nam's son were also beaten for it. In the final episode, on Il-nam's deathbed, he is surrounded by no family members whatsoever, showing that he abandoned his wife and kids that he spoke of during his climb to wealth. Similarly, we never see or hear of Gi-hun's father.
Coincidence? I think not!
And that's all, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and drop a like. Also, turn on the post notification so you can get an alert for when we drop the next cool video.